the last 2 weeks, you've seen pretty constant exchange of fire between Hezbollah in the south of Lebanon and Israeli forces in the north of Israel. It hasn't gotten as much attention as obviously the hostilities in Gaza, but both sides have suffered dozens of casualties on that front. And then the United States has been attacked dozens of times in the last couple of weeks. Its forces in Iraq and Syria have been attacked by drones and missiles fired by groups controlled by Iran in those territories. So, I would call it not even a boil, but a kind of simmering of the pot, which we see as the heat rises. The question is, will it reach a high boil? And frankly, that's what the Biden administration is spending a lot of its time attending to.
I wonder. First, I want to say that nothing justifies the attacks that we saw on October 7th from Hamas into Israel, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm going there. But did this whole tragedy evolve in a sense from the attempt of the U.S. to normalize relations between the Saudis and Israelis? I only ask because I saw, who's the New York Times columnist that you love so much? Tom Friedman, I think, wrote a piece saying, when we saw a picture of an Israeli defense minister getting all suited up to pray in Jeddah, that it was sure to outrage the Arabic world.
Well, the short answer, in my opinion, is no. But remember, everything is connected, right? But the reason I'll explain why I say no, but at the same time, there's a connection. This attack, which involved thousands of Palestinians invading Israel by air, through paragliding, land and sea, right? And seizing predetermined targets, right, was a complex operation that took Israel totally by surprise. Now, you don't do something like that without years of careful planning and preparation, right?
Good point. Yeah.
Okay, so the rapprochement between Israel and Saudi Arabia, it's only been in the last couple of months, right? So clearly Hamas has been planning this for a while, right? And one cannot say that the provocation or what set this in motion was Israel-Saudi normalization. However, and this is where the connection comes in, Hamas is competing for political power among the Palestinian and Arab street, let's say. So, they saw themselves as maybe getting outmaneuvered a little bit by Israel in its rapprochement with the Arab states, like Bahrain, like UAE, like Morocco, who were all signatories of the Abraham Accords, which is where we were trying to bring Saudi Arabia. So again, it's not unconnected, but at the same time, it's not Saudi related. It is basically peace related. In other words, Hamas, which is a military terrorist organization, doesn't benefit from peace, right?
Yep.
They only benefit from continued conflict.
Adam, I want to get your thoughts here on these hostages, because that is just a difficult situation for Israel. What is the role that Qatar is playing in this, and is there any scenario where this ends well?
There's been a lot of how should I put it? There's been a lot of steam being let off in the media and about Qatar. And, Qatar is a country that I know very well. I've worked in, and it's very complicated. But here's the bottom line. The bottom line is that Qatar's relationships with Hamas have come about at the request of and with the cooperation of the United States and Israel over the last 20 years, 15, 20 years. Why? Because Hamas is a terrorist organization. We can't deal with them. We need somebody who can. And we've chosen, we, meaning the United States and Israel, have chosen Qatar as our preferred intermediary. So when people say Qatar supports Hamas, that's really not fair, because Qatar is kind of doing us a favor in terms of being a channel to Hamas to help stop hostilities, help release hostages, help get money and supplies to Palestinian civilians. Now, what's different in the present conflict, really, is that the United States and Israel have decided, rightfully so, I believe, no more negotiations, no more business at all with Hamas. That's over. We've gone from, tolerating an inconvenience to needing to eliminate a serious threat. That puts Qatar in a difficult position. What they're trying to do, I think, again, with U.S. and Israeli cooperation, is negotiate the release of these hostages so that Israel can then go in and flatten Hamas. Will they succeed? I doubt it. Why? Because Hamas recognizes that the only thing standing between it and the full force of the Israeli military are 200 hostages.
So I wonder, that's problematic in Gaza. And then on the northern border with Lebanon, you've got Iran lobbing missiles in via its proxy, Hezbollah, right? And it looks like, from the rhetoric, Mick Mulroy just told us from the Lobo Institute, he thinks Iran wants this conflict to broaden out. Is that inevitable as well?
I think that's a little simplistic, that Iran wants this conflict to broaden out. What does Iran want? Iran wants two things. It wants the United States out of the Middle East, and it wants Israel to be eliminated.